I am so glad you decided to get more information after viewing the introductory video. The video you are about to see is based on actual fact. While investigating a certain fraud scenario, this candidate is one out of the 20 candidates investigated. Because this is a video, and we need to make it as short as possible, we will only deal with the main evidence or criteria that proves this candidate's dishonest tendencies. Remember, we asked the candidate the relevant questions, so the evidence is what they gave us, through a validated survey, where there are no right or wrong answers. Starting off, we find the following. Notice the suspect says he is 95% satisfied with his job, yet he feels that he is not treated equally. That makes a score of 95% inconsistent and impossible. Further, we find that the candidate claims to have an excellent relationship with his family, where he stays, yet a fairly bad relationship with his wife or partner. This is also inconsistent. It is also very strange that he has a better relationships with his colleagues than with his friends. We further notice that his satisfaction GBS, which is 90%, is much higher than his satisfaction IIS, 78%, which means he has extrovert tendencies. However, the candidate has indicated that he is introvert, 38%, which is overactivated. That is contradictory to satisfaction GBS, proving manipulation by the candidate. One has to wonder what is true and what is false, as the candidate shows extrovert tendencies, as we look at frustration IIS, in comparison with frustration GBS, 60%, which is highly overactivated, meaning that he is extrovert. Further, we notice that his stress IIS is far higher than his stress GBS, indicating that he is introvert. It is obvious that the candidate is blatantly trying to use deceptions. I get excited when the rubber hits the road, where we can prove without doubt that this candidate is a very high risk and suspect of being a fraudster. Here are the reasons why. You can easily reconcile that the candidate claims to do financial planning, financial control, and that he is also financially disciplined. The candidate explicitly expresses that he has little interest in receiving a fixed salary, and less interested in generating money for his efforts. Research has proven that most individuals react to things that are important to them, and therefore, because of the lack of interest in financial guarantee and compensation, it is highly unlikely that the candidate would bother with financial planning or financial control. And lastly, he does not feel that status is important to him. This is consistent with his interest in remunerations of money, which raises another question. So why is he working, is the big question, if money is not important to him? I would like you to notice that the candidate did a values or characteristic profiles before doing the full audit. In order to verify their values profile, is firstly comparing them with each other. Notice that financial guarantee is consistent with each other. By that we mean, within a tolerance of maximum 10%. However, financial compensation and status are both inconsistent with each other, proving there is consistent manipulation. Look at this candidate high-risk value of 99%, which means the candidate would take extreme risks, without due regard to his personal standards, or morality so to speak. Notwithstanding the fact that the candidate's risk and his values profile has changed dramatically when doing the full survey. Yet the candidate character qualities are exactly the same. And as for his personal standards, they are reversed, as the values survey shows that the personal standards are a lot higher than that of the full survey as indicated. This proves without a doubt that the candidate is very high risk, and would be definitely a fraud suspect. Let just prove once again what a manipulator this candidate really is. Just before we move on, I wish to point out that the candidate's responsibility of 96% is inconsistent with reliability, 71%, simple because they go hand in hand. Let us move on, and we will find out what type of relationships the candidate has with his supervisor. The candidate is indicating that his supervisor is very effective, 97%, is being out of touch with reality. But let us just accept that fact For the time being, we would like you to take special notice that the candidate consistently points out that her supervisor is a lot better leader than himself. Notice this throughout, such as listening skills, communication skills, competence, and lastly, reliability. One must be out of touch with reality to believe that the supervisor is 99% reliable, simply because outside influences would make it impossible. As we move on with leadership qualities, you will notice that there are two columns, the first being on the far right, only dealt with personal characteristics or values, and the second is the verification survey, that deals with the different constructs, that covers the holistic functioning of any candidate, which confirms the outcomes from the original values or characteristic profile, completed the first time round. The candidate's personal development scores the unrealistic score of 99% in both surveys. As we are people that react to the things most important to us, we know that their values or characteristics should be ordered in a hierarchy of preferences. In this instance, they are definitely not. Check this out. This is further evidence that the candidate has used impression management and is dishonest. However, let us look a little closer. Look at the differences between the characteristics survey and the full survey, keeping in mind that characteristics make up who we are, and do not change in the short term. Notice originality. In the first instance, originality was 49%, and then increased to 61% in the full functioning profile. Identical question, different outcomes. Autonomy was 50% and increased to 90%. Freedom of lifestyle scored 57% in the first instance and increased to 92%. This is such blatant lying. Authority, 54%, that then changed to 87%. And lastly, multitasking has increased from 68 to 83%, which in order of hierarchy of preference, the 83% is actually lower in preference than the 68. There is enough evidence to prove that this candidate is a very high risk, and was one of 5 who were identified as fraud suspect from the 20 originally screened. And I am sure you would love to know what the candidate's reaction to the surveys were. Go to the next video by clicking on more, if you are interested in finding out how you can identify fraudster anytime and anywhere. Contact us today. Goodbye, for now.